Good morning to you. You're live on 3FM 92.7. And this is the Women's Take here. It's brought to you by Star Ghana with support from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, and the European Union. I'm Natalie Fort, and today I'm joined by Naa Koryoo Okunor. She's an aspiring Member of Parliament for the Awutu Senya East constituency on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. Now, good morning to you. I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Now, tell me, what have the past few days been like for you? You're 18 days to election 2020.
Well, it's been very hectic, going up and down, and try to talk to your electorate and also to canvass some votes. And, getting to elections, we around this time we talk more on peace. Since Kaswa has been spotted as one of the hotspot areas. So we are doing more of peace talk and then education on how our electorates could vote so that we don't get a lot of spot ballots.
Now, the purpose of this program, The Women's Take, is to put focus on women like you who are aspiring for presidential and political parliamentary seats. Now, I've read a bit about you, and I know that you've been described as one of the youngest, brightest politicians. Yes, and you've served as a student leader and activist of the National Union of Ghana Students at the Ghana School of Law. And you won the primaries in this constituency, beating 6 men to contest for this position. Tell me a bit about your journey to politics and governance and what that was like for you.
Okay. My journey started from school. I got myself involved in students' politics way back in school. But I would say that the real journey started when I was working with TV3. I was at the newsroom and I was a co-producer for Headlines. So during the time that we had the issue of going to court, the pink sheet issue, we had to run around with Eddie Kwabi late, then Henry Malm, and the rest.
Yes.
So running around, helping, putting together the papers for production and all that, seeing to it that everything goes well during the headline program. So I think I just cultivated, or I just picked up something from those moments. And then also those who were coming to the studio also picked up something from me. So it was more like a connection between the two of us. So sometimes they would call on me, now help me do this, now go through this, now read this for me, do this. And I said, well, if do this, and I'm doing well, why won't I stick my head into it? So I decided doing it more like a full time now. Then by my zeal to contest, I didn't really have the intention to contest.
You didn't? The
Kaswa seats. I just wanted to be a low-range player, then do my little from behind.
So what then made you take up that position?
Well,
made you make that decision eventually?
I've lived in Kaswa for close to 20 years, and I've seen the do's and don'ts. I've seen the mistakes of parliamentary candidates or MPs within the constituency. I have understudied and analyzed the situation in Kaswa way back from Hannah Tete's time down to where we are now. Kaswa is a hot place, and it's been said to be the 4th biggest constituency in Ghana now, as compared to the previous elections, 2016. But then my zeal to contest is I love challenges, and I love to do the odds. Things that people believe it's undoable, that is where I stick my head into. So for the fact that there is a member of parliament who is a woman, and she says no woman can take that seat, no one can take that seat, was my first challenge.
That was your challenge?
My first challenge. Then also since I have lived in Kaswa, the situation of Kaswa hasn't really changed when it comes to member of parliament making an impact in the society. The only changes that we have seen in Kaswa is the infrastructural developments that happened in Kaswa during the John Dramani Mahamad's administration. We didn't have the MP. The MP since 2012 has always been on the side of the NPP.
Yes,
so we only had the MCA. But I would say that all the infrastructure projects within Kaswa was done under the John Mahama administration. And since then, nothing has been added on. So that has been my greatest challenge. And sometimes I do a lot of party work. I help people outside my constituency and all that. I said, so you live in Kaswa and you are helping us, and what are you doing about Kaswa? And I said, well, that was my second challenge. Someone threw a little challenge to me. It was a little question. And I took it upon myself to stick my head, sacrifice my social life and everything for the good people of Kaswa.
And why the NDC? When you were working with TV3, when you were with the production team, did you have a preferred political party at the time?
Well, the NDC has been my party, but because of our ethics, the work ethics and the ethics of the profession. The profession, you don't show it, but my family is inclined to the NDC. I have quite a big family, both mother side and father side, and we are both inclined with the NDC. I have had some ancestors that's held position in the NDC before, so it's more like it's in the blood. So I was just managing myself in tune with my profession as a journalist, so I don't go contrary to the ethics of the job.
Certainly. And if you just joined us, you're live here on the Women's Take on 3FM 92.7. On this program, we border around the impact of women on governance in Ghana. It's brought to you by Star Ghana with support from FCDO, that's the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, and the European Union. And I'm engaging today with Naa Koryoo Okunor. She's an aspiring member of parliament for the Awutu Senya East constituency on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. Now, before we touch on some of the policy issues that you've raised and hoping to implement in the constituency, I want you to take us a few years back, because you tell me that your family has been in support of the NDC for some time now, and I know that you have also had some more minor political roles over the years. Share that with me and what your upbringing was like even before politics.
Okay, I grew up with very strict parents, where sometimes you would have to do the odds to be able to get there. Although they were strict, they instilled in me discipline and the fear of God. So I've lived with my parents throughout. And my school days, all the way from Achimota to Ghana National to the School of Journalism to the law school. It's been a great experience. It's all a learning process. I've gathered experiences from other areas, colleagues and friends. But my family line and politics is quite big, and everybody could relate. My mom is a Voltarian from Angloga and Achiavi. I wouldn't want to go deep, so when I say Angloga and Achiavi, you can easily relate to the NDC political figures that are coming from that area. And with my dad, my surname is Okunor. Everybody will relate to the late Taye Okunor, who was a political activist then. By then, I was even very, very young. I didn't know much about him.
Yeah.
But then, so it's been a family thing, although as a family, we don't really sit to discuss politics, but I discuss politics with myself.
With yourself?
Yes, especially during the newspaper review on the morning shows, and I'll sit down, open my radio, and I'll be debating with whoever is on there. It's in the studio, although I'm home. So as they talk, I'm doing my own debate at the house. So I'll be doing it to the extent that my neighbors would come and ask, are you speaking with someone? Do you have a guest? Do you have a visitor? I said, no, I'm speaking to the radio. So that is how I grouped myself. Although I had some other people who groomed and shaped me to the woman I have become now. The likes of Marita Brew, the likes of Joyce Bauer, the likes of Auntie Seti Okran, the likes of Betty Moldidri. So I cannot mention all the names. There have been men also, but since today it's a women's affair, there have been people that have really, really been there for me. I don't know anything. That is how I see myself. I'm still growing. I'm still a child. I love to ask questions. And even if I'm doing something and I am 100% that this thing is right, I still want an opinion of 7 people. I choose 7 because it's an odd number so that I can get the right interpretation to what I'm going to do. So politics is always a learning process. Someone say politics, you grow thicker skin as the day goes. And I think now my skin is so thick that it's beginning to tear.
Your skin is so thick, it's beginning to tear. That's interesting. And that clearly you had a lot of women supporting you in your journey, right? Which sort of defies that notion of the fact that women are not supportive of each other. Yes? But share with me, along your period campaigning, have you had any, say, comments or statements made that have been very gender biased towards you?
Oh, in politics, these things would happen. Even before I went through my primaries, I was the only lady. And initially, before the primaries started, we were about 15 or 17. But as the time got closer, some people began to drop. So we got to 7. And, you know, the attitude of people carving a message just for one candidate. So people would carve a message just for Naa Koryoo. Naa Koryoo has done this. Naa Koryoo is this. Naa Koryoo is this. What it makes me feel is I think I am more important than the campaign. Because if you have a message to sell and you go and you sell Naa Koryoo, people would call me and say, this is what this man said about you. This is what this lady said about you. Come, I want to meet you to see whether it's true. So I come and I speak to the people. It's like, so is that you? Is that what you are made of? Oh, then, you know, then the bomb they have gone to throw goes back at them. So in politics, these things would happen. I remember one person told me, Honorable Pokuya and Sedinam Tamaklu, they told me in politics, if you're a woman and you are not called a prostitute, then you should know that you are not doing your job well. Interesting. That is one where she told me, said, nah, at the stage that you have gotten to, you'll be called names. And if the name prostitute do not come in, then you are nobody. You are not working. People will not recognize you.
And the name
but if that name comes up, then you are being a threat to some people. So for these things, it would come up.
It's normal.
You're a prostitute, you are this, you are this, you are this.
But does it affect you? Does a name calling actually get to you?
With this tough scheme. You know, I have... It's maybe I would say it's good I went through the media before going to politics, because the media, you get these bashings as well from your colleagues from other stations and all that. You get these bashings. So I have gone through these bashing in the media. I went
you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with this politics, no. I'm not really bothered about it. I hear it. They tell me, even last night, I even heard the freshest one. They tell me, I said, so is this an issue? This is no news. It's always been like that. It will come. So, you know, people around me rather get disturbed, they get bothered. But me,
you don't.
It rather strengthens me. Strengthens me.
Now you've earlier said you've sent a signal to incumbent MP of the area, Mavis Hawakumsin. And you mentioned that you're going to approach this election, these are your words, as a, quote, hungry lion. I found this quite interesting. What exactly did you mean by this, particularly given that you're contesting against your fellow women?
Well, to go into an election is not an easy thing. And at this point, we are putting in our all. We've made a lot of sacrifices, educational wise, social life. There are friends that I have lost because they think I don't even have time to even reply to their WhatsApp text message. So it's a lot of sacrifice. And if you have put in, including time, if you have put in your all, and you know that there is a problem to be solved, you will tackle the problem from the root cause. You don't tackle it from the surface. Me being an angry lion, it is me, Naa Koryoo, but I'm speaking on behalf of the good people of Kasoa, the good people of Awutu Senya East constituency. The way they are suffering, the things they are going through, the violent actions that are being meted on the good people of Kasoa. And when you take the demographics of Kasoa, it is the youth and the women. It is because we have a big market in Kasoa, so most of the people that patronize or work within the market and its environs are women. And we have the youth who are always so migrating from other areas to come, petty traders to sell and all that. So we cannot do politics in Kasoa leaving out the women and the youth. Now, if the women and the youth are the most affected, then we cannot develop Kasoa. Let us move away from politics, from our political affiliation, and let's focus on development of the constituency. This is a situation where a woman will go to the market and be beaten by tax force. This is a situation where a woman has saved a little amount of money, bought a store at the market, and the next day the store is being given to the highest bidder. This is a situation where our people have invested so much in loans, savings and loans, men's gold. Their monies are locked up and they go to the market, they are traumatized. This is the situation where we say the youth are on the streets not having any meaningful job to do. Where you had someone who was a banker and was earning 3,000 a month, now it's a truck pusher or a lotto kiosk operator. These are the plights of the people. The two factors I mentioned, that's the women and the youth in Kasoa now. And after all this, what it needs for them, that they will be beaten and abused in their field of work, that they'll be seen as a non-entity and be insulted, guns and bullets flying through their environs and even sometimes hitting them, that they would not have the peace of mind to say they want to step out to Kasoa or they want to step out to a place where they can have some kind of business so they can be the breadwinners of their family. These are the plight of Kasoa. That we will live in the constituency where we cannot even boast of a big hospital, where we have a big hospital built under John Dramani Mahama, but it is not being operationalized. Where we cannot say as women that our markets that we have wasted so much money to secure, to get a store, that we have to just use the markets twice a week. What happens to the rest of the days within the week? Where the youth cannot even say that I have a meaningful job, I have something doing that I can also feed other children. These are the plights of the youth and the women within my constituency. And that alone gives me the edge. I am a young woman.
How does that give you? Yeah, how does that give you the edge? There is a woman who you're saying the plight has to do with youth and the youth and women. We have a woman currently who's has served since 2012. Tell me what's the difference you are bringing to the table?
Okay, the difference I am bringing, I know there is a woman. I loved it. You said a woman. The difference between a woman and Naa Koryoo being the woman is the article there that qualifies it, which makes me different from her. I am not saying I am different because maybe I have 17 fingers or maybe 3 lips. No, it is the ability and my capability that makes me the woman. It is something unique I am bringing on the drawing board. I believe as women, we should be sharing more ideas. We should be looking at developmental issues. We should be looking at what can bring our people together. She is an MP and also doubles up to be Minister for Special something. I've never got that name, the ministry right. But then, you see, the reflection, even not taking the MP aside, the reflection of her ministry must even reflect within the constituency. We are talking of one village, one factory, where Kaswa, in the 2016 manifesto, the local manifesto, we were promised of a poultry farm in Kaswa. As we speak, I don't know if the land is yet to be secured, or the feeds are yet to be secured, or the fowls are yet to be brought. You know, we have a lot to say in Kaswa when it comes to development. When we talk about infrastructure development, when we talk about the needs of the people there, when we talk about how Kaswa should be structured, when we talk about education, when we talk about security, one thing I know is we can have all these things which we don't have in Kaswa anyway. But then all these things would boil down to security. When you have a good job, you have your employment system is good, your sanitation system is good, your health issues, your health problems within the constituency are being solved, automatically you are secured. Aside the security system that we find, maybe the police, the military, what. But when you have, there are certain basic things that when you have them all put in place, automatically you are secured. Where I'm saying that is, if you have a good job, you are moving out to know that at the end of the month, you have something to feed your family. You have something to feed yourself. Then, when you have a good hospital, you know that when you are not well, you have a place to go that you can receive treatment. So you have that kind of security within the constituency, but we don't have it. Then upon all, our security system in Kaswa is nothing.
So let's touch on the security
about.
system in terms of the policing security system. Throughout your interactions and engagements with the residents, what have you identified and how are you hoping to improve that particular situation?
Okay, with a security system, within 3 or 4 years, there's been some incidents that had happened in Kaswa, which I think everybody is privy to. The first one was, I think, the killing of 2 police officers within Kaswa Bujumburam Road. The second was the killing of a civilian by the police. Then, during the registration exercise, the shooting and the beating of the ordinary man on the street who wants to go get the voting right to be able to make certain critical decisions come 7th December. Then, our recent issues. For the recent issues, the least spoke about, the better. So security in Kaswa is an issue. One, they have their own internal issues, which is the equipment or the amenities that they need to use to move. When something happens and I call a security man or the police service, the fire, when I say security, I'm putting all fire, prisons, whatever, all of them together, and they don't have the means to move, how will they come out to rescue the good people of Kaswa? I know that in governance, you are not supposed to make that provision. But if it is a need within your constituents, then you can take out a portion of the common fund to provide equipment and amenities for these security services so that they will be able to move and protect the people of Kaswa. Now, we've had issues upon issues in Kaswa where it's been reported to this police service and nothing has been done about it. The story is it is always under investigation. For years, we are still holding on to the investigations. We don't know when the investigations will be will end. And sometimes it is so disheartening where you see that there is a clear evidence, the evidence has been provided, where even there is a testimony where the individual had come out to attest to the fact that, yes, I committed this offense, that we still say that we are still investigating. These things break the hearts of the people living in Kaswa. The youth who have seen politicians as role models and mentors get disheartening, and they think that, well, in politics, the police is neither here nor there. But one thing we should also know is Kaswa is a big place. Right now, we are looking at about 154,873 electorates, which makes it the fourth biggest in Ghana. And we have about 297 polling stations now. When we talk about security, we don't even know what's being put in place when it comes to securing the lives of the people. I'm not talking about the elections, but what I'm more concerned is the lives of the people living in Kaswa on the election day, now, during and after the elections. We don't even know the security arrangements put in place to do that. But we know that Kaswa has been listed as one of the hotspot areas with 72 centers being pointed out. And these centers are so clear. We live in Kaswa. We know what is happening in Kaswa. We know the things that have happened in the past in Kaswa. And we will plead that something is being done about it faster.
Exactly. And you talk about the security issue, and I fell on this estimation that almost 250 people move from Accra or elsewhere to settle in Kaswa, say weekly. As an aspiring MP, how do you hope to manage that population, the growing population in Kaswa?
Kaswa is more of a cosmopolitan area, so it's difficult to manage the people in Kaswa, but it is also easier if you are able to identify their groups. People come from all sorts of areas, all sorts of lives. You find all the tribes within Kaswa, all the businesses within Kaswa. That's why we have the tribal heads and all that within Kaswa. Kaswa is a fast-growing, I would say, community now in Ghana, because people are moving in at every time. What we can do to manage the system is to have a proper planning. One, with the assembly. Two, with the town and country planning agents, to have a proper planning and management of our system first within the constituency. Then we can manage the people. I know in Ghana it is rare that I would move to an area where I would have to announce that I am new in this area, so maybe do a roll call or something. But then I believe we have the rent control system where people rent, we take records of that. I believe that even when people are building houses, the permit system and all that is also available for people to take records of whose building is this, who lives here, who lives there. To control the population of Kaswa, I wouldn't say that we need to. It's a fast-growing area, and it's now more like a business hub where we have the mechanics, especially the artisans. What I call it in our local parlance is those who want to make quick money through hard work. That is my simple way of breaking artisan down. So we have all these kind of people. We have dressmakers. And one problem is, especially with those who are into the artisanry or the sprayers, mechanics, fitters, scrap dealers, they are scattered all along the area. This is because they don't have a permanent place of doing their business. And the major issue with them is for them to get a permanent place and for them to feel secured within their environs, where in the next 3 months, a landlord will not come and tell them that I need a house, I need my plot to get a hotel or something. So in order for us to streamline their activities and also make sure we harmonize with the other artisans. No, there is a need for us to get a mechanical village, which I think the other areas, Kumasi will call the Kumasi magazine and all that, so that we can put all of them under one umbrella, where each of them would secure a piece of land to do their business, where when I drive to that place, I know that is a one-stop shop. I can get whatever I need when it comes to their area fitting or spraying and all that. So it's also in our plan, or in the plan of Naa Koryoo, to also secure these things for them.
And we're going to touch more on your plan and the specificity of it and how you plan on establishing some of these policies that you've outlined. But if you just joined us, you're live here on the Women's Take on 3FM 92.7. The program is made possible through the support of Star Ghana Foundation, with funding from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office FCDO and the European Union. Remember that you can get interactive with us throughout the program as we're streaming live on Facebook at 3FM, and you can tweet at us at 3FM 92.7 with the hashtag The Women's Take. Now, your programs and policies that you've outlined and are hoping to implement in the constituency, one would describe as quite bold, right? There's a provision of a legal hub, which you're hoping serves the poor and the vulnerable in the society. Can you explain to us how exactly this legal hub is going to be operating?
Okay, in my interaction with traders, artisans, market women, and the drivers, the ordinary man on the streets, I realized that they had a lot of issues. But one thing that dominated amongst the issue was the lack of a proper representation. And when we say proper representation, it's broad. Proper legal representation and proper representation in parliaments. So now, you don't have anybody to speak for you. You don't have anybody to advise you on what to do. You don't have anybody to direct you on the do's and don'ts. A lot of women have fallen prey to some situations where they have huge amounts of monies locked up. Not because they cannot go for it, but perhaps they have signed one or two contracts which they did not understand, so it is not in their favor. When we talk about the markets, the stores, the shirts in the markets, it is an example where our women have taken huge amounts of monies, paid for stalls, and now it turns back to say that maybe it wasn't a correct legal tender and the store has been given to this. And these women are quiet and sobbing within. So in situations like this, if we had a legal representation for these women, I'm not sure some of these mistakes would have been met. When it comes to the drivers, it is the same. When it comes to the artisans, it is the same. Even where they put their containers, or what we call the kiosk, where they put it, it's even an issue. After 3-4 months, then they have the issue of moving it out for someone else's, So
this legal hub will be made up of...
They'll be made up of lawyers, counselors. They are just going out to help our traders, our artisans, the ordinary man on the streets, including the pastors and everybody living in Castle, to give them legal advices so they get things done correctly. Now, this thing I'm talking of, it is not going to be based on payments. No,
these people are not going to be expected to pay for these.
It is pro bono. It's going to be free legal advices. There are petty things that they need to go through, signing of contracts and all those things. It is nothing difficult. An agreement between two people is nothing difficult. But if you have a legal tender behind it, it makes it more solid. So that is what we intend to do, where everybody can walk in. It's going to be open to all. Everybody can walk in and have a legal advice, legal consultation, and some pro bono cases made for him or her.
Now, you've also outlined the establishment of a daycare center for the market?
What I realized is we have women who come to the markets. Most of them travel from other areas. We have farms within Bontrasi and all that, which is Awutu Senya West. Others come from long distance areas to sell their goods and Kaswa. Most of them come with babies.
With their children, yeah.
And sometimes serving your customer, your baby crying, or excuse me to say, your baby poos, the customer will just look at you and move away and go to the next seller to buy the wares. So these things disturb the women. And for the women to also get the free of mind, the freedom to be able to sell their wares or their goods, it's also a good. So I decided to get a daycare center
within
in the
market.
Yes. So when you come there, you leave the baby with the caretakers, and it is free. Leave the baby with the caretakers. Go and sell your goods or your wares. When you close 5 o'clock, you go and your baby is ready to take home. That is the plan, so that our mothers, our sisters can have the chance to sell as much as they can and make more money to feed the babies at home. That is the plan for my women in the markets.
You see it as a feasible one?
It is so feasible. When you go to the Kotokraba markets in Kumasi, built by His Excellency, the next President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, even the Kumasi KJTR market, there is a daycare center in there. So if it is possible somewhere, why is it not possible in Kaswa? It is. It is.
Now let's touch briefly on what you stated as the promotion of youth talent. The question is how? We have many administrations and personalities hoping to take up these offices who express such desires and put out such promises. How exactly are you going to promote youth talent? Because it's once again very broad. It's a very general point you stated there.
So when I started, I spoke about the demographics of Kaswa, which is the women and the youth. There is a lot of youth in Kaswa. The ages ranging from 18 to 35. That is my classification. And myself, I am also a youth.
You fall within this bracket.
Exactly. So sometimes it is easier for you to connect to me. The pidgin, someone will be offended. If I speak pidgin, maybe I'll not even get attention. If I wear tattered jeans, I may not get the attention. But me being a youth, I've also been there before, and I'm still there.
You appeal to
them.
So
I flow with them to the extent that they openly tell me their problems, even to the extent of relationship problems. Even to the extent of even the bad things they even do, they tell me to advise them. So I realized in Kaswa, when we say Kaswa, we have about 19 football centers in Kaswa alone. There are not 19 teams, so 19 within the 13 electoral areas. And these boys, watching them play are very, very promising. Some of them are just playing because, it is a form of exercise. Some of them are just playing because it's a group thing. They need something to entertain themselves. But some of them are playing because
they have the desire to
exactly. So most of the coaches, I am on a lot of platforms. Most of the coaches, we communicate with the players and all that. And the zeal for them is for us to be able to push their players so they can get somewhere. We are not looking at something big. We have our own local teams in Ghana here where we can. It is one step to the other. So the plan is to regulate all the local teams within the constituency and form what we call the district league. So from the district league, then we'll be picking up the people and promoting them. Aside football. Aside football, music. I can't imagine the number of people that have made songs for me for this campaign. Every day they drop. Others even add a video of it and everything. And people who aspire to be musicians in Kaswa is also a lot. When we talk about music, it's not about just the rapping, the singing. We have the gospel part. We have even the Jama group, the drummers, and all those things. There's a lot of these groups that sometimes when you step out to do campaign, people voluntarily come out with their brass bands and all those things. So it is time that we promote people like that. I said that there are other skills that people want to learn, people want to develop, youth talent skills that people...
And tell me about some of the skills, particularly the young women in the community.
For women, I've seen about 6 women who told me that because spraying is the field of men, they want to enter into spraying of cars. So I have been able to sponsor them into apprenticeship, where they are doing their apprenticeship program, learning how to spray cars. There are people who also want to mold this, how we call it, the mailing machine. So there's a place I have also sent. They are all ladies.
These are women.
Yes, they are all ladies. That have sent them to go and acquire those training. Others too are not within Kaswa. Other people who also want to learn a specific kind of trade. We wouldn't get that trade within Kaswa, and that is the difficulty. So you would have to send them to Accra. Even with that, transporting them, you have to give them something so that they will be able to transport themselves to Accra and back, so that they can be able to learn the trade. And and that's what I'm saying, that if we had all these things in Kaswa, it would be very, very easy for us. There are people in the area of sports. People want to do skating. People want to do motorbikes. People come to me. Sometimes the skills they even approach me with, I pretend I know. Then later I Google and find out that, wow, so this is, so...
They're not so popular.
Exactly.
Saying, yeah.
So I say the youth there have promising skills and talents that they want to grow and nurture, but there is no one to help them. That is why I have come, so I can help them. We nurture. I don't want to nurture any youth, but we nurture ourselves together. As they learn from me, I also learn something new from them, and we develop Kaswa together.
Now, we were speaking earlier, and this brings me back to the fact that you're also a mother. You're a mother of 2. Tell me a bit about your children and your political life and how it's impacted on your home.
Okay, my children are cool with my political life. From the time I started doing media, I was 17.
You were 17 when you were working at TV3?
No, I was at Metro TV then.
At Metro, okay, nice.
Yes, so I was 17 when I started doing media, and I grew up to this stage. So to balance my career life, I wouldn't say political life, my career life with family and life, it's something that I have done over the years. So I'm more used to, sometimes you would have to rush from the house without eating, put something in the bag, chew along the way. It's been like that. TV3, you come to work, you are closing at 11 p.m. after the late news. You go home, you sleep small, you have to come for the morning news production.
Hours, yes.
So it's for managing my busy schedule with family. It's something I've been through over the years. So my children are also happy.
And how old are your children?
Sorry?
How old are your children?
Oh, they are not too young, they are not too old. They are in between. Well, what we say, the inframe. Okay. So they are in between. So, and they love their mother. They love the work I do. They support me in all angles. They do more social media than myself. So sometimes they take my phone, they respond to my Facebook comments and all that. So my children have 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 that. that so well. My children have 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 that so my children have that, 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 so my children